Hey guys, still here. Welcome back to Wonson Harbor. Today in Wargame Red Dragon, we have a 3v3 conquest game. 750 points to go in 40 minutes. Now there are quite a few zones here, and to be honest, I'm still used to this being the original spawn zone. This area here and this area here. The way that you have it set up in, well, what's currently the 10v10 map, or the 10v10 tactical map with the naval versions, usually have this spawn zone. And this one, which is the original version of the map. Anyway, got changed quite a while ago into the spawn zone starting over here in Hotel and over there in Alpha. Today we're looking at Sparky Hayes. We have Arceus and Martijntje. Now these guys are using national decks. Sparky's going with Canadian Motorized. We have Arceus, who's using French General, and Martijntje is using British General. This gameplay has it all. We have special forces insertions, we have transports going on rampages, we have intense infantry warfare, arty strikes, air strikes. Everything's going to come together in this game. Now, these national decks, of course, do allow you to have a bit more units. They allow you to have more activation points and slightly higher availability. But you're also going to be lacking some units that you might want to have, that a coalition could provide you with. So it's going to be an interesting fight, seeing if these guys can hold on with their national decks. By the looks of it, we have Sparky going towards the middle of the map, Arceus towards the left, and the right flank is going to be held down by Martijntje. Now he's also prepping a couple of Lynxes over here. We have Lynxes A87s, the one with the rocket pods, ready to fly over the water. And potentially do an insertion either farther up towards the enemy position, so grabbing an early stronghold here, bit of a beachhead, or doing special forces insertions elsewhere. Let's see what these guys are starting out with. For Sparky, that's going to be a bit hard to see because Canadian Motorized is transports, and more transports. We have napalm troops or engineers, we have grizzlies with fire support units. We're going to have a whole lot of infantry, some triple stacks, some duo stacks, a couple of wolverines to make sure they're not immediately going to get wiped out by an airstrike. Let's see what Arceus is going with. A couple of French transports, VAP 2013s with autocannons. We have the AMX 10P, 10RC, Roland, VAP 2013, AMX 40s. No Leclerc, interestingly, which is something that I might consider bringing in a situation like this. And yep, here go the special forces off to the water. Looks like they might be going around, and there we go. He already deployed an attack marker. He wants to get his forces all the way over here, coming in from the rear of the Alpha zone and hopefully trying to do some damage that way. First aircraft have already been spotted. MiG-29 came in, dropped some napalm right on top of the middle of the map. Interesting, actually, because these guys are going to take a while to get there. And while these transports are definitely fast, they're not that fast. So dropping it here would have been more effective damage-wise. The enemy clearly has a pretty hefty air patrol out here. 913S's trying to score some kills on the French helos as they're moving quickly towards this position. And the REDFOR helos are right on point as well. The KA-52 and an Mi-24V are making life very difficult to land the forces over here. Wolverines are doing what they can and scoring some hits and even some kills on these helos, but we still have a very vulnerable transport with command infantry inside here, so hopefully we can keep this guy safe. Sparky at this point has offloaded all of his infantry, mostly on his side of this big firewall that the enemy team has put up here. And so far, it is basically buying both teams a little bit of time to dig in. It looks like they're not just digging in. Vidra is moving towards the left side of the map, trying to get to Echo and establish a strong position so that it's going to be more difficult for Blue to get in there. Blue's forces, it seems, Arceus here, are lagging behind. It seems that they were not quite able to get moving as fast as he might have wanted. And as such, the whole of Echo is now entrenched with red forces and very, very difficult to uproot them. I'm talking of red forces. We have Sapri 85, we have Spetsnaz, we have all sorts of transports providing fire support. Look like the BTRT over there. The Canadians are definitely not having a quiet day in this town. this is the way that it always is in Wanzen Harbor, and it's probably always going to stay the same way. Very, very busy, very contended fighting going on here. To the northeast of the map, we have our helicopters. The big question is, have they been detected? Because these aircraft are decent at spotting enemy aircraft, but are they capable of detecting helos if they're flying this way and the helos are back there? I think not. I don't think that these guys have been detected. But to make sure that they're not going to be detected, he's landed his helos, making it so that if an enemy aircraft does happen to fly over, they're not going to get detected. What we have here is two groups of SCS as well as a group of paratroopers. So these guys are going to have to go on quite a walk in order to get towards Alpha. We're going to be checking in with them every now and then. Right flank, with Martijntjes squaring off against what seems to be an Eastern Bloc deck. We have Specialny, we have a couple of Motorschützen, even some AA moving around here from 152mm. And as these guys are holding the ground, it seems that Sparky's getting awfully aggressive with his Grizzlies. And the AA guns are really not liking that, as they're receiving a hail of machine gun fire from all of those transports. Of course, while these things don't do that much damage, if you just fire at them enough, they will go down, because the armor just cannot stand up to that consistently. There goes the first AA gun, second one going down, seemingly trying to get a lock on, maybe for that gunship, which it... Yep, it seems to have hit the second gunship as it went down there. Now, how far are these Grizzlies going to be able to go? Because if you are able to get their command position, maybe out here, that's going to be a nice bonus. But I think that Sparky switched from managing these forces to managing his infantry here, forcing him to give up direct control of these units for the moment. And as such, they're presenting themselves as a nice and easy sitting duck for the DHS Mi-24Ps that are flying in, as well as a couple of autocannon wielding BMP-2s and some PDR-80As. So the transports are not going to have a long and blissful life. They're charging in right into the open arms with the Motorschützen 19, the BMPs and the BTRs. No more Grizzlies. The good news is that we've been able to make some progress into this sector. So far, Charlie seems to be doing alright, with loads and loads of Canadian rifles basically being brought forward into the slaughterhouse. That is just what this area is. This is where infantry goes to get itself killed. Stormer at long range was able to do some damage against some of these BTR-80As, but these things are pretty... actually, they're more tough than I'd expected. And they are getting out with their hides intact. These guys could be resupplied and rearmed, and especially repaired. And with a quad stack of autocannons, you can make life on infantry quite difficult. Talking of a difficult infantry life, Echo is where the French have decided to go. And the French are not really getting a foothold here. Yes, we have a quad stack of Legionnaires, we have a VAP 2013 scouting out this position. And getting some cheeky shots on the Salamander there. We also have a Sokol Helo hovering quite close. If that thing gets a shot at the VAB, it's going to be pretty much over inside 10 seconds, because that autocannon here is going to slice through the VAB's armor pretty quickly. Now Red has been able to capture more zones than Blue, being in control of Echo. And as such, they already have almost 120 points. It's going to be not so difficult to get this thing neutralized. You can just park a command infantry in here. But then getting a foothold into the zone and trying to neutralize the enemy command position, that's going to take significantly more work. We still have a defensive position here with a couple of Milans as well as further Legionnaires. The infantry here seems to be secure, but we don't know what's coming from this sector here. We do know that we have insertions in our own spawn zone. KA-29TB coming in. VABs are doing some suppressive damage. Wolverine unfortunately missing all of their shots so far, but there we go. Finally one of the Wolverines hits and the helo goes down. Immediately some reinforcements being brought in as quickly as possible. And RCS is bringing in a couple of Caesars to deliver long-range fire support. These things are extremely accurate. They're also very, very mobile, so if you just fire a salvo and then shoot and scoot, you're going to have a very good chance of keeping those things alive. Now, all of that firepower would be very welcome in the middle of the map here. We have 50 more Skya Pechota moving forward, taking fire from a large front here of Pathfinders, Canadian Rifles and Erics. And they are going down, but there's still a lot more Skyas than there is Pathfinders and Canadian Rifles. So another group of Canadian Rifles is brought forward, but they take a nice amount of airstrikes there, and fortunately this fresh stack was not impacted at all. They're still calm, so they might be able to move up and get these more Skyas when they're still on the run. On the right we have the SCS and the paratroopers. These guys are currently marauding around the exact spawn position of Red, which are coming through this position here. The SCS have the AT-4, the paratroopers have the Law 80, very accurate, very high AT weapon. And the SCS are already scouting out this sector, trying to get the kill on the command unit that might be hiding somewhere inside this harbor or over there. In the meanwhile, the paratroopers were able to kill off a Smirch. Nice kill there, very expensive. Unfortunately, at this point they have given their position away, and REDFOR is quick to respond with more forces. Of course, they're going to have to spawn in here anyway, but at this stage there's a very good chance that they're going to get overwhelmed rather quickly. The SCS and the paratroopers are fighting for their lives, and while the Lynxes are trying to help out, they're immediately getting shot down by a ZSU-23-4. Able to kill it off, but not before 5 out of those 6 Lynxes went down. K-52 is also a culprit there, and probably firing a couple of longer range iglas at these helos. Paratroopers are all dead. All we have left is 39 SAS guys. And the SAS are already being chased by further infantry units, transports, potentially more units that we haven't even seen yet. There's really nowhere for them to go. The only way is forward. Now there is a Salamandra here, which I'm not exactly sure if this is intentional or not, but has been landed, so that the SCS are going to have to use their short-range AT-4 instead of going instead of going longer range and using their Stinger. So they're going to have to get quite close to that thing. They were able to fire off some of their Stingers onto enemy aircraft as they were flying over, but so far nothing. There's the hit, and there's the Salamandra, so they now have the FOB. Unfortunately, they also have issues with SPW-80s. The SAS here are still inside the harbor, trying to get into the buildings as quickly as possible, moving from building to building, trying to help out their buddies in the field. There we go, SAS now in a good position to kill off these transports. Hopefully that also killed off the infantry inside, otherwise the SAS are going to have a tough fight ahead. The SAS here surviving, but only barely. And the SAS here holding off the transports as long as they can. But they are starting to really run out of AT-4 ammunition. And of course Red still has control of the zone, so they're still bringing in more and more units. And especially these autocannons are becoming a significant annoyance to the SAS. The other SAS group skirmishing with the Motorschützen, firing off some shots and then jumping away from building to building. But there is still very few of them and a lot of Motorschützen coming around. Because it's not just this group, there's another one. And if these SCS are not able to deal with the transports here, we might see some more units coming this way. Now, if the SCS, as a final act, were able to kill off the Buratino, that would be a really good development for Blue. Because these things are very nasty to deal with. Talking of nasty to deal with, the SAS here are holding off the Motorschützen so far. These SAS are out of AT-4, so they cannot deal with the transports. And to make matters worse, we have 30 guys of the Spetsnaz forces coming in. And they are not going to take prisoners. The other SAS are trying to evac their building, getting close to the Buratino but not close enough, as they're getting killed off at this stage. The SAS here, at short range, going up against Granatomets, the Vidra 2 with their autocannon firing, a couple of recon scouts coming in, The Tatra 148, unfortunately for them, isn't armed. So the SAS at least not getting fired at from everything. But they have exhausted their buildings here. They are not going to be able to get to a different building. And just when you thought you'd seen it all, we're taking mortar fire. At this point, they are also mortaring their own forces. The Grenadiers are trying to stay clear. Surprisingly, the SAS were able to kill them off, but that is just the last of their actions. And the Special Forces insertion, as long as it lasted here, is done. On the left, we have an interesting development here. With the VAP 2013 as a quad stack of these guys getting the kill on the command unit that was capturing Echo. They were able to flank around through the woods, getting the kill there. Not a moment too soon, because REDFOR is already sitting at 192 out of 750 points. And while the fighting in the middle is currently dying down, the position in Echo is maybe purged here, but there's still a lot of potential for infantry to hide out in this block there. So what we need at the moment is a command unit to go to Echo and start bringing in some points. But just as Blue was doing Special Forces Ops, we also have Red doing Special Forces Ops. As a couple of Kampfschwimmer were over here, and Gazelle's been dispatched to go after them. One man still standing, running as quickly as he can, but his ghillie suit apparently cannot defend him from the spotter in the Gazelle. Trying to get the damage in, and there we go, killed off. Some aircraft are flying over. A Seed aircraft came awfully close here. A couple of tornadoes from Martijntje trying to do a 360 there, coming around and not getting the kill. They were able to get some damage in, but not a kill, unfortunately. So, back to the middle of the map, where we still have Motorschützen, Morskaya Pechota, and, of course, the potential of a Buratino strike coming in again. And judging by the amount of napalm damage to the terrain, I'd say that we already saw quite a few napalm strikes hitting this area, and hitting it hard. So far, the Canadian Rifles are seemingly holding the line, with most of these guys pretty damn healthy. But, of course, REDFOR also has mortars. Which, to be fair, Blue 4 also has, but is currently not using them. If you have mortars in a situation like this, the best thing you can do is to keep them firing at all times. Just to keep suppressing the guys that are coming at you. Making sure they're going to be less effective, more panicked, and as such, less accurate. And the way that I usually go about it is have these guys under a hotkey. Make sure I can quickly select them, give them an order to fire, hold shift, give them an order to move, and then fire again. And just keep them busy around the clock. Because that way you know that you're getting the most out of these guys. Because these are an investment of 35 points. So it's 70 points total. You could say, well, I'm going to get 3 infantry squads. But these can really make a difference. Now, surprisingly, our VABs are still here. They're still alive. We have one of them stuck in the mud at the moment. The other one suffering from a bit of rough ground. But they're still moving. And they have a decent amount of supply for fuel. So they should be able to keep up for at least a little bit. And interestingly, there's no fighting going on here whatsoever. We can see an enemy transport or two. There's just not good enough line of sight for the Legions to do anything about that. The Panthers are able to do something about that with their rocket pods, and they kill off one of the transports. AMX-40 at short range will make quick work of these transports, but you don't know what came out of these guys. If there's infantry hiding at short range, then they're going to kill off the AMX-40s. So it's a bit of a standoff here. On the right flank, we still have some tanks laying down suppressive fire or standing by to do so. You could move up the Erics, but the Erics are immediately going to take fire from the PT-85, the T-72B and the BMP-2s there. So they're going to get quickly suppressed and stunned and probably not able to accurately fire off a missile. At this point, Red has been able to capture the middle of the map again. They have Charlie recaptured. And with that, they are once again ticking up by 1. So very slowly but steadily, they are climbing their way to victory. Blue 4, at the moment, doesn't really have anything yet. Actually, my bad. Red 4 was able to capture Echo. They already had Charlie. And it seems that Delta is being counter-capped by Red 4. as we have a lot of transports standing by to lay down suppressive fire on the Fusiliers here, as well as a host of helicopters here. Fortunately, these are not the ones armed with rocket pods. These are armed with the Molnia as well as the Kokon M, main anti-air and anti-tank. So they're not that effective against infantry. But I wouldn't be surprised if the infantry has bigger issues than these helos, in the sense of those mortars that are constantly hammering them with fire. A couple of gunships coming in. Pretty risky play here with the gunships, as the enemy has more than a few AA units around. Now, the gunships, still interesting units, very cheap, not very effective against anything that has armor, but you can use them against units out in the open. Unfortunately, we have a few AA units coming in, starting out with this AA unit here, which has been taking quite a bit of damage, but unfortunately takes down 2, almost 3, 4 of our helos there. And as REDFOR deploys a smokescreen, they're coming for these guys. If they can keep pushing, then blue is at risk of completely losing out on this zone. And if they do, then red's going to be at a +2. As they're already counter-capping and they only need to kill off the command infantry that's hiding out here. So the Fusiliers at this stage are going to have to fight off some transports. There's 1, reloading, there's 2, motor shoots and evac just in time. Vidra there, another BMP2. Fortunately, it's not a BMPT. Narrowly avoids the hit there, but it is panicked. And there's the kill. They have 2 rounds left on the anti-tank weapon. And there are more contenders coming in. There's another kill. So this is not exactly the best way of using the transports. The transports with their autocannons can immensely outrange your forces, as these guys are showing. So driving them in close, while it is appealing, is not effective. It's making them much, much more vulnerable to enemy anti fire. Now it seems that we still have an incursion from REDFOR units here. At this point, Sparky has put up a whole defensive line of Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies are immediately also taking some fire from what seems to be longer range artillery. So far, not exactly effective fire yet. Look at this defensive line. That's Bisons from all the infantry that got deployed in the middle of the map. He's making good use of these transports, but the fact that they were still able to do some incursions here does not bode very well, and is drawing their attention away from the actual area of combat, which is the middle of the map. Freedom Fighter comes in, drops off a little bit of napalm here, and... correction, not napalm, HE. Potentially gets a friendly fire kill there. Further artillery is hammering the last known position of the infantry, which, if I was them, at this point I wouldn't be there anymore. Now, the command unit here is either killed off, but actually it's neutralized by this command unit here, so this zone is no longer bringing in points for red. The command infantry is still moving around, and there we go, holding position. And look at what we have here. These are 3 of the 4 VABs that were able to get the kill there, and were just able to merrily make their way through the woods, losing 1 of theirs in the process, but have been able to get pretty close to Bravo, where they might be able to find quite a few interesting units, especially along the lines of command units. And if you can neutralize Bravo, that's a +2 for blue instantly. Now so far the Fusiliers were able to hold off against the transports, but now the infantry is starting to arrive. LSTR-40s, we got something that's completely unpronounceable, as well as a bunch of motor shoots in here. Fusiliers out in the open, taking fire, as there's really nothing standing between them and the command section anymore. Even the command section is opening up with their L7A1. Sparky tries to deliver some damage with the Freedom Fighter there, which gets killed off by the LSTR-40. Electric Voodoo comes in, sweeps through the lines and kills off an enemy AA unit, but pays dearly for that. They were able to get 1 AA kill there, but not much more than that. The command section is still alive but running. And with the neutralization of Delta for red, at the same time blue was able to get the Legionnaires in, and they're hunting down the REDFOR infantry here. So the Legionnaires are squaring off against Granatomet, there we go, and now we can deal with the command infantry. We We neutralize these, we at least have no income for red for the moment. And hopefully they can buy us some time. Sparky, at this point, helps out with a bunch of grizzlies, quickly to reinforce this position where the legionnaires have done good work, but they are not just the only thing that we need to worry about. As REDFOR is doing an incursion into this sector, where they're jumping the building with Morskayas, they have BTR ADAs with fire support, and with an airstrike they were able to kill off the command infantry from blue. So once again, red is at a +1, at current 260 points. But hey, we still have 17 minutes left to pull back this game, so let's make the best of it. And that's exactly what we're doing. VAP 2013 is coming through, losing one of their own, but killing off the enemy command unit. And as such, Blue 4 is finally getting a +1. Finally, they're getting some points, albeit slowly, but at least they're no longer losing points. They're also quick to bring in some of these empty transports to at least put a little bit of a speed bump in the way of all of these oncoming REDFOR units. Unfortunately, Grizzlies versus BMP2s is not a fair fight, as the Grizzlies quickly realize as they all go down in flames. Highlanders quickly dropped off into these buildings, but not quick enough, as they're taking fire from the Granatomet as well as the transports, and some of these guys died inside their own transports. More Highlanders being brought in. This time Sparky dropped them off a little bit sooner, so that with their longer range mini-me they're able to put up some fire against the buildings over there. And the Fusiliers from Martijntje are coming in from the left, trying to get these Motorschützen out of the building, as a little bit of mortar support comes in from a quad stack of Bison 81s, suppressing infantry that might still be hiding out in this building. Look at the hail of ATGMs coming down from 4 Warrior Milans, able to do some damage against these transports. Hopefully they can intercept them before the transports are able to drop off more infantry. Unfortunately, we still have an enemy tank here, and Warrior Milans are not exactly known for their long range or their accurate HGM. Missile goes in, narrowly avoids all of these vehicles, and as such the warriors are one by one getting picked off by the units that are still defending this ground. Blue 4, fortunately, still at +1, currently at 23 points versus 240. So Red 4 still has well over 10 times their points. But at this point, they were able to, what was that, neutralize, I think capture Echo, and neutralize Delta. And this is going to speed things up significantly. They're now at a +3. A little bit of artillery striking onto this position, but fortunately no actual infantry there. Another couple of VAP 2013s from Arceus or Arceus are moving forward quickly into the side of Red Force units, which have a couple of Niwas here, scrambling for cover. And this time around, it is Blue Force transports with autocannons going up against machine gun fire from Red Force transports. And so far, getting the kill. Motorschützen still holding the position here, and they're quickly getting surrounded by Blue Force infantry. Hopefully the Pioneers with their short-range flamethrower can get rid of these Motorschützen, so we can keep pushing into this zone. And it seems that the Red 4 offensive on the right has died down, not a moment too soon. There was very, very little left in this area. Just a bit of Highlanders, a few more infantryans are being brought in. The damaged warriors are still here, but I would not exactly expose these guys to further gunfire. And the Lynxes, trying to drop off their forces, are taking fire from what might have been a DHS MA-24P. Fortunately, the paratroopers are okay and can be brought to a forward fighting position there. Aircraft crashes right on top of the harbor and slams itself into container, so I cannot exactly see what it was. Definitely a Blue 4 jet there. I think that was a British aircraft, not exactly sure. Motorschützen almost on the run here, but Red 4 is still hammering the positions here with artillery, making it very, very difficult for Blue 4 to keep pushing forward without taking significant losses. A scorched earth tactic there almost. If I can't have these buildings, then neither can you. Now, interestingly, Sparky was able to push forward with a bunch of Recce, and hopefully the Recce are able to scout out the new command vehicle. If they can do that, then Blue 4 might be able to kill it off with an airstrike or an artillery strike, because hopefully we still have the Caesars here. Let's see. Please tell me the Caesars aren't dead, that would be a big waste. Well, they might very well be down. That's mortars. That's a VLRA. Yep. Considering how close these guys died to each other, I'd say they didn't move at all. So they were just counter-fired, counter-batteried. And REDFOR seems to be trying to do an airborne push with a couple of helicopters onto the right flank of the spawn zone here. Blue 4 saw it coming in time and has defended with a lot of AA. We have Wolverines, we have Chieftains, VLRA Mistrals, and let's see if these helos are still as confident as they were a moment ago about pushing in. Because right now it's just a standoff. The helos can see the Wolverines and vice versa. The problem here is that artillery fire can come in against the VLRAs and the other AA units, whereas the units currently here cannot actually do anything against the helos. So if REDFOR already can just soften up this position a little bit, then they might be able to then come in with their helicopters anyway and neutralize Hotel. At which point, Blue 4 might have very well lost the match. So potentially bringing in a Lynx 3. Very, very risky play. A Lynx 3 against the DHS. DHS seemingly out of ammo, as it's no longer firing, but I'm not sure about his buddy there. Considering how aggressively he's pushing forward, I would not keep the Lynx up there for too much longer. He fires, hits the Lynx. Lynx is so far okay, so time to bring in a Stormer. These Stormers, unlike some of the other AA units, can swim. Crotal unfortunately cannot. The Crotal might be able to get, the Stormer might be able to get close enough to deal with these guys, especially outranging them and more or less chasing them down as they are going over the water and trying to withdraw. Now at this point Red has still gotten control over Charlie. The infantry from Blue 4 have not really made a lot of progress. At least they're still inside the zone, they're not being pushed back. And we actually have a lot of infantry in reserve. We have a lot of infantry here. A lot of high-ranking infantry at that. We have Commander Marines, Legionnaires, a couple of transports. If your command infantry is hiding here, I understand that you want to defend this position with as much infantry as possible. I'd say at this stage just deploy a couple of Grizzlies along this line and get all the advanced infantry inside transports or moving on foot if you have to, and get them towards the front line. Because over here, all of these points are going to waste. Now at this stage, Red 4 decides to bring in some tanks, but of course Blue 4 is now heavily entrenched with HEGMs. Both Legionnaires, Milan 2s, and they have the Recon to back them up. But as soon as these guys open up with their HEGMs, they're taking artillery fire. And fortunately the HEGM Milan F2 from this side was able to kill off the tank. Further, ZSU-23-4's Afghanskis are moving into the woods, so we could be seeing another offensive from Red coming in along these lines, trying to neutralize this zone. And I understand why they're doing that, because Blue is currently having a +2, as they were able to get command infantry inside this zone, neutralizing the income from Charlie for Red, and thereby at a +2. So any zone that Red 4 can hold off or neutralize would be much appreciated for their side. Another offensive by Blue 4, this time around going in with AH-7s at medium range. Short range is being held by paratroopers, FV-432s. We can even see the command vehicle as it's rushing into this zone, trying to get it back under Red 4 control. And there it is. They might be parking it here. Nope, they're still moving it around. And it's just moving out into the open. Paratroopers are taking aim with their mini-me. There's the Law 80, missed the shot. The command vehicle is justly worried there. And if the Highlanders can get a bit closer, then the Erics should have enough range to kill off the transport. Sorry, the command vehicle there. So they're making their way through a bunch of AGS. We should be able to move up. Vidra at this stage decides to surrender. Not exactly sure why. Because while blue is on the move, red still has more points. And if they can hold on to these zones as they have them at the moment, they might at least be able to force a draw inside of 7 minutes. And if they can recapture or neutralize the command section of Charlie or Delta, then that would help them. Of course, it would get a +1 for blue, taking much more time for red to come back, or from blue to get back to REDFOR's levels of points. And here is the offensive that we were expecting. A couple of BTRTs with Sapri 85. Immediately, a couple of very brave or foolish transports from Arceus are moving forward, rushing pretty much right into the tanks. Aircraft come over, do bombing runs here. We have ATGM units coming in. There's all the Afghanskis. Another airstrike on top of a building that was already empty. And unfortunately, it's just standard legions here. It's not legionnaires, or Legionnaire 90s, which, with their longer range ATGMs, would be able to help out. Unfortunately, we have the Highlanders. The Highlanders, with their Erics, are capable of doing just as much damage. And all of these Afghanskis are rushing right through their line of fire. Beautifully killed there. No further threat from all the Afghanskis. Now the tank would have been an easy kill for the ATGM here. Unfortunately, it's out of ammo. And we don't really have any longer range AT weapons here to stand off. So we're going to have to wait for another solution to come in here. Mirage 5F came in, tried to get a drop on the tank, got the drop in, but not without getting killed off by the 2 Newas that are still sitting there. And over to the right, we still have eyes on a large quad stack of mortars, a couple of Pram S's. We can kill these guys off. That would make it easier for Blue 4 to keep pushing. At this point, Blue 4 is at a +1, as Red 4 is neutralizing Charlie. Blue 4's command section is not the only one here. So that UAZ that we saw earlier might still be there. At this point, another couple of AA units come in, but these guys are armed with a radar system, making them significantly more accurate, but not more secure against all of the Erics that are being fired by the Highlanders, and they kill off one of the AA guns there. Fusilier standing by, getting ready to potentially push or defend against something that's coming in here. And we still have further artillery strikes, so considering how accurate that was, we can reliably say that they have eyes on this position. They know where Sparky's ADATS is. And at this point, I don't know what happened to Red. They may have run out of units, they may be a bit disheartened by one of their team members leaving, or by the fact that they're no longer gaining points. But they just stop. There's no activity from Red, or at least very little. MiG-25 came in, seemingly getting just about no damage in. And these Warrior Milans are able to, without any sort of counter threat, kill off one, if not both, of the AA guns there. Sorry, the AA missile launchers. And look at that. Command Infantry from Vidra. On the run against the Warrior Milans, killed off, and as such they now have control of this zone. But Red has brought in some units and are neutralizing this command section here. The command squad on this position is no longer the only one here, so we're going to have to find those and neutralize them. Fortunately, at this point, Blue 4 has gotten more points than Red, and as such will win the battle. We just are going to be looking at either a minor victory or something better. So we're still fighting the good fight, trying to get more damage in. Now I'm not exactly sure why, with 3 minutes left on the clock, Arceus decided to offload his Commando Marines here. Because these guys are never going to be useful inside of 3 minutes. It's going to take them probably at least 4 to get from this position to anywhere near Bravo. I'm quite worried about these aircraft over here. What are they up to? They see the Panthers. If Arceus can go in with the Panthers... Oh, there's one of the AA guns. Not good. Keep moving. He's hit, but he's still airborne. There's momentum carrying him forward, but he's not doing very well. There we go, he's regained control of his bird. Now keep going. Oh, stop tumbling around. Rush into a command vehicle and kill it. While landing on top of it if you have to. No line of sight in the command vehicle. Where is it? We don't exactly know where the command vehicle is here, but we do have a pretty solid lead on where the command vehicle might be in this sector. So that's where the Panthers are heading off to. And yes, they know exactly where it is. The question is, can they launch those rockets at them in time before they go down? The line of sight isn't too easy here, but yes, there we go. They got the kill. Panthers, despite being significantly damaged, are able to get the kill. And Blue is able to get a +3 going. This is the final nail in the coffin for REDFOR. And REDFOR just continues to do airstrikes, continues to put pressure on any of the Blue 4 units that they can find. Doing arty strikes on empty buildings at this point. Not exactly too sure what they were hoping to hit. Because the command section is never going to be there. Syria 30 coming over. Killing off Grizzlies at this point. Curious choice for a target, but there it is. 1 minute and 15 seconds left on the clock. Looks like Red is no longer deploying any initiatives other than airstrikes. I wonder what happened to the Buratino. We saw it operating around there, but I really haven't seen that many mortars or Buratino strikes lately. Now, a bit of coordination going on here. We probably know that this is the location for the command unit. Commander Marines are coming in from the side here. And the other Commander Marines are still moving towards that front line. As mentioned, in 45 seconds they're never going to get there. Time for the Helo Rush to come in, or at least what's left of it. And these guys are very, very quickly killed off by all of the AA that's being concentrated around this area. They are not going into this position anytime soon. We can still see the AA guns here, not a threat. And considering that they are well inside the tree line, time for the Legionnaires to move up. Right into a bunch of infantry here. Can we get to the command unit in time? Inside of 8 seconds? I doubt it. Syria 30 coming over, popping flares. Dodging missiles, but not all of them. And there we go. Killed off. And that's the end of the match. So, Martijntje getting able to get almost 4,000 points in kills with 3,000 points in losses. Sparky going slightly negative, but that is to be expected in a situation like this, where you're just grinding through tons and tons of infantry. And Arceus getting 2,613 points in kills and 2,000 points in losses. Very, very close game. If you are ever at a position where you have lost 260 points, don't just quit, because it's not the end of the battle. You can still come back from that, as these guys have shown. Just keep fighting, keep going for priority targets, keep using your mortars to lay down suppressive fire, and you can still come back from this and turn it into a major victory. What was originally looking like a potential total victory for REDFOR. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, be sure to support the channel using the Patreon link in the description below. And if you have a replay that you want to send in, be sure to do so through the other link in the description. If you have any thoughts that you want to share, do so in the comments, and I'll be seeing you soon for more gameplay.